Tucker Carlson dropped a huge bombshell today on an interview that he did talking about Boris Johnson, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. I know all of you guys have heard of the Tucker Carlson. You've probably seen the Tucker Carlson interview with Vladimir Putin. It absolutely broke the internet. I did an entire, it was a pretty long video, almost 30, 45-minute breakdown of what I thought were the most important parts of that interview. If you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description, in the show notes, and in the comments. And in his first interview back from Russia, he was on the Glenn Beck show, and he was discussing what Boris Johnson said about him in a viral video that I'm going to share with you in just a few moments. Stick around for that, where he was talking about what Boris Johnson said about him. And then Tucker, who I think is very credible, very does his due diligence, is a very accomplished broadcaster and journalist, reached out to him for an interview, saying, I want to interview Boris Johnson. And this is what happened. I'm going to share with you what he said Boris Johnson told him. It's insane. So a little bit of context. When Tucker, just in case, just to rehash, when Tucker interviewed Vladimir Putin, Putin made a huge claim that it was Boris Johnson, then Prime Minister of Great Britain, of England, who interfered with peace and negotiation talks when it came to the war with Ukraine. And then in response to that, because Tucker's interview went so viral online and everywhere pretty much. Jon Stewart was talking about it, all the mainstream media. You could see they were unhinged, so jealous. Why did Vladimir Putin give this guy an interview? Because, Tucker's actually stellar at what he does. He's kind of the GOAT right now of journalism. And mainstream media is absolute just garbage. And so he made this video, which I'm going to share with you right now, in response to the allegations of Vladimir Putin to Tucker Carlson in that interview. Let's check out that video right now.
Around the world, people are watching that ludicrous interview with Vladimir Putin conducted by Tucker Carlson, and we must not fall for this tissue of lies, above all for the notion that Putin is somehow fated to succeed in Ukraine. On the contrary, he is doomed to fail. Read about it in the Daily Mail.
Not a very, credible video. It's what a poorly done video. He's probably in the Bahamas or something with his family. God knows what he's doing. He's retired now. He's no longer PM. Probably a millionaire, if not a billionaire, many times over. God knows what else. Hard to hear and hard to decipher, but the main thing he says is that this was a ludicrous interview, a ludicrous allegation, echoing pretty much everything that mainstream media, legacy media says about anyone who delineates or deviates from the establishment narrative. To me, Boris Johnson is not very credible. To me, Boris Johnson is not very believable. But I would love to hear from you. What are your comments, and what do you guys think? And so he denies and basically lambasts Vladimir Putin and lambasts Tucker Carlson. And then when Tucker heard about this, because he was like, wow, okay, so Boris Johnson really went after me. So when Tucker Carlson heard of this, he reached out to Boris Johnson, like any good, reporter, journalist would do, broadcaster would do, to see if he could get an interview. And so check out this video where he tells Glenn Beck on his show, the first American interview since getting back from Russia, since interviewing Vladimir Putin. Again, the interview that basically broke the internet. Check this out right here.
So I'm over in Moscow. I'm waiting to do this interview. It gets out that we're doing it. And I'm immediately denounced by this guy called Boris Johnson, who was for a short time the Prime Minister of Great Britain. And Boris Johnson calls me a tool of the Kremlin or something. And I'm thinking, well, that's his name's not actually Boris, as I'm sure you know. His name is Alex Johnson. He called himself Boris in high school. So the guy who calls himself Boris is accusing me? So I was annoyed. So I put in a request for an interview with Boris Johnson, as I have many times, because he's constantly denouncing me as a tool of the Kremlin. He says no. So I'm thinking about getting more annoyed. So I know a lot of people who know Boris Johnson. So I reach out to them. Finally, one of his advisors gets back to me and says, he will talk to you, but it's going to cost you $1 million. He wants $1 million
What?
in US dollars, gold, or Bitcoin. No, this just happened yesterday or 2 days ago. And I'm like, he wants $1 million. Yeah. And then he will talk to you about Ukraine. He will explain his position on Ukraine and explain what. So he attacks me without explaining how I'm wrong, of course, or how he's right. This is, by the way, the guy who single-handedly, at the request of the U.S. government, stopped the peace deal in Ukraine a year and a half ago, and is, I think, for that reason, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. He won't explain any of that to me in an interview until I pay him $1 million. And I said to the guy, I just interviewed Vladimir Putin. I'm not defending Putin, but Putin didn't ask for $1 million. So you're telling me that Boris Johnson is a lot sleazier, a lot lower than Vladimir Putin.
Okay.
Which is true.
Yeah.
So this whole thing is a freaking shakedown. Why $60 billion? I mean, I could get boring on this because I've learned a lot about it. But $60 billion is not going to allow Ukraine to prevail over Russia. No honest person thinks that's going to work. This is a money laundering operation. A lot of the people involved in it are making money from it. And if you're making money off a war, you can deal with God on that, because that's really immoral. Like, that's actually really, really wrong. And a lot of people are, including Boris Johnson.
So what do you guys think of that? I mean, I don't see why. I'll give you my opinion, but I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what you guys think. And you might be asking yourself, Nez, why are you even talking about this? Who cares about what Boris Johnson thinks? Okay, he's part of the narrative. He is a huge, huge component, a huge pawn in the giant narrative of Zelensky, Ukraine. Putin is evil, warmonger. We're going to invest all this money that I think should be going to the U.S. first. I've talked about this many times in videos. There's so many of us are struggling day by day. They're giving credit cards to migrants. They're giving billions of dollars to Zelensky. There's no strategy. There's no blueprint of no end in mind or what's going to happen. What is the outcome? You would think that, given the fact that Tucker Carlson has garnered hundreds of millions of views on this interview, he was granted access to one of the most influential leaders on the planet for the last decade or two, if not more, that other legacy media, other media outlets were not granted access to. There was a major claim by this figure, whether you like him or not, he's influential, and he made a major claim. I don't think Tucker's lying about the $1 million. I mean, what does he have to gain by lying about that? It makes absolutely zero sense at all. And Putin didn't ask for any money. This can all be fact-checked and verified. So why would he lie about this? It makes no sense at all. I completely believe Tucker. Why, Mr. Johnson, Mr. former PM? First of all, why are you in that egregious video, that god-awful... what's with your hair? I got so many problems with you, dude. So many problems. But why, former PM? Why, Mr. Johnson? Why do you call yourself Boris? Okay, I'll stop. It's just, this guy's got a lot of problems. Why wouldn't you go out of your way to clarify what Putin said? There's a lot of people, obviously, who were influenced by Tucker, who were influenced by the reach and engagement and power of that interview. Why would you charge Tucker Carlson? Why would you say you have to give me $1 million? You would think that he would go out of his way. He would contact Tucker. Am I crazy? You know what? He would tell his people, contact Tucker. I want to get his first interview after this. I want to quash this. I want to quell this. I want to end this mystery. I want to end this accusation and nip it in the bud. Why wouldn't you do that, PM Johnson? $1 million? It seems really, really awfully strange. You heard Tucker go on and on about laundering, and I really like how he said that's on you and God. I truly believe that he's a moral man, which makes me respect him and I think augments his ethos even more. I want to pass this over to you guys. Really, really interesting stuff. You had an opportunity. Whether you could absolutely despise Tucker, but Tucker has the top platform in the entire ecosystem right now. There's literally no doubt about that. He has the most influence. He's garnered hundreds of millions of views, like something like 100x more than all the other media outlets combined. He was only getting, I think, 3 million, and only, I mean, that's a lot, on his very popular show on Fox. I mean, he's galactically gone beyond that. Why wouldn't you go out of your way to contradict everything that Putin said? Why would you, A, first say no, and then B, why would you say, okay, I'll do it, but only for 1 million? Very suspect, very, very suspect. As always, guys, the reason that this channel exists, the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm working my butt off every single day, I think I do more quantitative and qualitative research than anybody I know in this space. Every single, from dusk to dawn, I am researching and making sure that I get the best information. I do my utmost due diligence. I'm not trying to say this person is right, that person is wrong. I'm not trying to say we're better, they're better, you're worse, you're better. No, this is about bringing people together. I love my country. I love the United States of America. This is where I've been given so many opportunities. This is where I met my wife. This is where I raised my kids. This is where my parents, who are immigrants, were given the best opportunities. This is where everybody wants to be. This is the home of the free and the brave and the land of opportunity. And I don't like what's happening to my country. I don't like the direction that we're going into. So I welcome all viewpoints. I welcome all. I welcome. All of a sudden, I'm a rabbi. I welcome all views. I welcome all, as long as they're constructive, respectful. Okay, I'm not going to respond to you. If you're just going to be personal attack ad hominem and just be a jerk, I'm not going to respond to you. But I want the comment section to be this lively, enthralled, vivacious, constructive, productive collaboration of ideas and thoughts from our amazing audience, our amazing Nez Nation audience. This is the best audience on the planet Earth, best audience in the online ecosystem. I love you guys. So I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you guys think. What do you think of Boris Johnson's response? Who do you believe? Do you believe Tucker? You believe Boris? Why does he call himself Boris? It's kind of weird. And don't forget, if you've made it this far, in the pinned comment is our free newsletter. It's also in the description and show notes, podcast listeners. And make sure you sign up, because it's absolutely free, and it is your sure-proof way of always being in the know, so you never miss out. New videos, live breaking news, top stories, current events as they break. I'm bringing it to you with decades of critical discernment, critical thinking, critical analysis. I'm a master of communications. I'm a master of the principles and art of Aristotelian rhetoric, which is a lens that allows us to see objective truth and cut through messages, cut through the BS. So make sure you sign up for that. Don't forget to check out these videos here, because they are raucous and awesome. Subscribe and follow down there. As always, God bless you. God bless the United States of America. And I'll see you soon.